Welcome back. In our first video, we covered the fundamental building blocks of U.S. citizenship, the basic eligibility requirements like holding your green card for 5 years, or 3 if married to a U.S. citizen, and the importance of good moral character. These are the who and how long of your journey. Today, we move beyond the basics to understand the continuous residence rule and the 1952 Act's definition of a general abode. We will also break down the math of physical presence, how many months you actually need to spend inside the country, and explore the powerful rights you unlock once you transition from resident to citizen. Plus real client stories and a quick pop quiz so you can test yourself. We've put the questions and timestamps on the screen so you can jump straight to the answers you need. This is part 2 of a 4-part series on acquiring U.S. citizenship, brought to you by the law offices of Chris M. Ingram.
Just a quick reminder, if you appreciate this in-depth content, please take a moment to like and subscribe. It helps us bring you more. Now on with the video.
To understand your strategy for the future, you have to realize that the path from resident to citizen isn't just about waiting out the clock. It's about proving your commitment to your new home. To move from being a resident to a citizen, the government needs to see that you've truly made the United States your permanent home. This requirement is known as the continuous residence rule. But why does this rule exist? What is the government actually looking for? Congress established this rule to ensure you have enough time to settle, learn the language, and familiarize yourself with U.S. traditions and institutions. But it goes deeper. It's intended as a time to shed foreign attachments and acquire an attachment to the principles of the U.S. Constitution and government. It's your opportunity to demonstrate that you are a law-abiding member of society and prove your fitness to be accepted as a U.S. citizen. Now, the word continuous can sound a bit intimidating, and it leads to one of the most frequent questions we hear at the office. Does continuous residence mean I'm not allowed to leave the U.S. at all? The answer is no. You are absolutely allowed to travel. Continuous doesn't mean you're a prisoner in the United States. It means that throughout your 3 or 5 year period, the U.S. must remain your primary, permanent home. As long as you don't show intent to abandon that home, short trips are perfectly fine. The logic is straightforward. It would defeat the purpose of the law if a person could acquire a green card, live elsewhere, and then simply show up years later to apply for citizenship. But how do they calculate if you are actually living here? That question led to the 1952 Act, which introduced a specific savings clause to define residence. It defines your residence as your place of general abode, meaning your principal, actual dwelling place in fact, without regard to intent. For example, you might claim your intention is to live in the U.S., but if you are spending the bulk of your time away for prolonged periods, the law suggests otherwise. This created a complicated analysis for anyone who travels frequently. So, what are the 2 keys you need to track? To determine your eligibility, you must look at 2 distinct factors. First, how long have you held your green card status? And second, how long have you been physically present in the U.S. while holding that card? While tracking your green card anniversary is easy, the tricky part is looking at your absences. Immigration officials want you to count every single day you've spent outside the U.S. The rule of thumb is that you must be physically present in the U.S. for at least half of your qualifying period. So, to break that down into numbers, if you are on the 5-year track, you must have been physically inside the U.S. for at least 30 months. If you are on the 3-year track, that requirement is 18 months. To see how these rules apply in real life, let's look at 2 common scenarios. First, the 5-year track. Meet Maria, a software engineer. Over 5 years, she took several vacations and one long trip to care for her parents. Even with those trips, she spent a total of 36 months inside the US. Since she's well over the 30-month requirement, she's ready to file for citizenship. Now, the 3-year track. Meet David, an entrepreneur who got his green card through marriage. His business requires international travel, but he carefully tracked his days to ensure he spent exactly 20 months on US soil. Because he stayed above the 18-month threshold, his path to the American dream remains wide open. In both cases, keeping a simple travel log made the difference between a smooth application and a major delay. But physical presence is only half the story. Is there a limit on how long one single trip can be? This is where the 6-month rule comes in. The calculation starts with one critical question. Have I been away from the US continuously for more than 6 months? If your individual trips are all less than 6 months, you generally pass this specific test. But we know life doesn't always fit into a 6-month window. What happens if you have to be gone longer? In our next video, we solve the problem of absences between 6 and 12 months, and what happens if you're away for more than a year. Let's look at how this applies to a normal travel situation. Take Elena, a resident who spent 4 months in Spain helping her sister after a surgery. Since her absence was under the 6-month mark, it did not trigger a presumption that she broke her residency. Elena returned to the US, kept her job, and her citizenship timeline remained perfectly on track. For most people, trips of this length are safe and straightforward. We often get asked about the exact timing of this rule. Is it 6 months total in a year, or 6 months in one single trip? The presumption of breaking residency is triggered by a single continuous absence of more than 6 months. However, be careful. Multiple long trips close together can still make an officer question where you truly live. All this might feel like a lot of record keeping, but the payoff of reaching the finish line is immense. US citizenship provides a level of security that a green card simply cannot. From a legal standpoint, US citizenship provides a robust array of rights and benefits that are not available to non-citizens, even those with permanent resident status. It's the difference between having permission to stay and having the right to belong. Citizenship gives you the power to vote and even run for most public offices, allowing you to influence the laws that shape your community. It provides absolute protection from deportation and allows you to sponsor your family members for green cards much faster. Economically, it opens doors to federal jobs and government contracts that are off limits to residents. You gain access to federal financial aid for education and one of the most powerful passports in the world for hassle-free travel, along with all of the other several benefits that come with full legal and cultural integration. Ultimately, this transition is the final step in securing your place in the American dream.
Let's see if you've mastered the travel rules we've covered so far with a quick checkpoint quiz. Question 1. True or false? Continuous residence means you are not allowed to leave the United States at all during your 5-year period. False. You are free to travel as long as the U.S. remains your primary home. 2. True or false? The continuous residence rule exists to help you settle, learn the language, and familiarize yourself with U.S. traditions. True. It is designed to ensure you truly integrate into American society before becoming a citizen. 3. If you are on a 3-year track for citizenship, how many months must you be physically inside the U.S.? 18 months. You must be physically present for at least half of your qualifying period. 4. At how many months of a single absence does the government presume you have broken your continuous residence? 6 months. Once you hit that 6-month mark, the stakes change and the burden of proof shifts to you. 5. True or false? A green card holder has the same absolute protection from deportation as a U.S. citizen. False. Only U.S. citizenship provides absolute protection from deportation. 6. If you are on the 5-year track for citizenship, how many months must you be physically inside the U.S.? 30 months. The rule of thumb is always at least half of your qualifying period. 7. True or false? To the government, your residence is based on where you actually live, not just where you intend to live. True. It is your place of general abode, your actual physical dwelling place. 8. Yes or no? If all your trips are shorter than 6 months, does that automatically guarantee your residency will never be questioned? Answer: no. If your trips are too frequent, an officer can still challenge whether the U.S. is truly your primary home. 9. True or false? U.S. citizenship opens doors to federal jobs and government contracts that are restricted for green card holders. True. It provides economic opportunities and aid that residents cannot access. 10. Between a resident and a citizen, who has the priority and faster processing times for family green card petitions? Answer: the U.S. citizen. They have higher priority and significantly faster timelines. How did you do? Drop your score in the comments and let us know if these foundational rules are clear so far.
We've now covered the essential groundwork for your journey. From the basic eligibility rules in Part 1 to the critical 6-month threshold for continuous residence we discussed today. You now understand that while short trips are safe, staying abroad for more than 6 months shifts the burden of proof onto you to show you haven't abandoned your home. But what happens if your stay abroad stretches even longer? In our next video, we'll move into the high-stakes danger zone, absences of 12 months or more. We will break down the rules that can delay your eligibility and push back your timeline. To help you prepare your strategy, we've made our detailed citizenship guide available for free on our website. See you in Part 3.